Juan Soto is now a New York Met. Sorry, this is not an MLB show. Welcome back to the Week 15 NFL Odds On edition. Man, this season has absolutely flown by. You know me, I'm Dustin. That's Alpha. That's Matt. Before we get into the headlines, let's make sure you're making your NFL picks alongside us over at Oddspedia for a chance to win some cash. Simply sign up, make your picks, make some cash if you're in the top 10 come month's end. I'm telling you, it's a blast. It adds to your Sunday. But let's get into last Sunday, though, fellas. Let's get into the headlines here. First, obviously, we need to talk about this A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts beef that's happening. Brandon Graham went on his podcast. He's saying their relationship was fractured. Who's in the right here? Obviously, Brandon Graham was the guy that said you have to keep it internally. But with him going on his podcast and talking about it, he's doing the exact opposite of what he said. What's your take on this, Alpha? What's your take on this fractured relationship?
I think Brandon Graham's a moron for saying anything. Going to be completely honest. I mean, if you've played even up to a college level, even high school level sports, you understand that not everybody on the team likes each other. Quite frequently, it's kind of the opposite. There's cliques on teams. There's groups of guys that like each other, and there's guys who are not. I don't make a big deal out of this. I think that, A.J. Brown hasn't been able to get the targets he wants. He hasn't putting up the numbers he wants, and is anyone surprised A.J. Brown's a little frustrated about that? It's just the type of guy that he is, in my opinion, and I kind of like that out of my wide receiver. I want them to always get the ball. I want them being a diva. That's the mentality I like out of my wide receiver. But to me, I just don't think it should have left the clubhouse. I don't think it's a massive deal, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I mean, what is he? A.J. Brown, the highest paid receiver in the league right now, if not top 2, top 3. And yeah, I feel like Saquon, the addition of Saquon's kind of changed the entire dynamic of that offense. Yeah. Before they were a little bit more 50-50. Now Saquon's touching the ball 30 times a game. And you have this big, unbelievable receiver, A.J. Brown, not getting his targets. I knew something was going to happen. I mean, they've won so many games in a row, which is kind of funny. He's like, still, we've won 11 games in a row, but I'm not getting the ball. But yeah, I could see A.J. Brown doing that. I'd probably do that a little bit too if I was making that much money. Matt, what's your take on this?
Well, I'm going to go straight to Bozo of the Week. I'm a little bit of a disagreement here with Alpha, and it's A.J. Brown. I mean, okay, so I mean, it was going to get out there. Eventually he's going to blow his top, right? Because there was something that happened in the late '90s, and I put it. The only thing I think is put it on Terrell Owens. He seemed to be the first guy. Even I was listening to Troy Aikman the other day talking about Michael Irvin. And he would only come to Aikman. Even then, he wouldn't even be that upset. He would just, everything be handled internally. Like you said, they've won 9 games in a row. What the fuck, dude? I mean, you're winning. Isn't that what we're all about here? Is winning. So you're not getting the ball. And I've got. We'll talk a little bit more at the very end of the show because I've got something about A.J. Brown I want to talk about. His numbers aren't that bad. I mean, he's getting 5 to 6 catches almost every game. I mean, come on, dude. What do you want? And you've also got a lot of talent around you. Do you not want that? Then you're not going to win.
100% agree. I do agree with that part.
It's probably not enough for him, just letting you know. I mean, I'm also a little bit on A.J. Brown this week for my props because of that. The squeaky wheel, he gets greased every now and then, and I'm sure A.J. Brown's going to get that. I mean, if you don't see, that first play is probably going to be some wide receiver screen to him, then I would be absolutely surprised. But, fellas, what's up with this Bills defense? What happened? That was probably – it wasn't probably. It was the game of the week in a terrible slate last week. The Bills just could not stop anybody. They could not stop Puka, who is unbelievable. Holy crap.
Unbelievable.
They could not stop that offense. What's going on with this Bills defense? And should Bills fans, kind of be worried about that defense, that unit going into the playoffs? Alpha, go ahead, pal.
If the Chiefs didn't look how they did, I would say yes. If the Ravens didn't look how they did, I would say yes. But the AFC is wide open, in my opinion. I really do believe that. I wouldn't be terribly worried. I am very interested to see how this defense performs this week. If they do it for a back-to-back week where they give up 1 million points, which they might. We all know who they're playing this week, and they're playing the Lions. But this is a bigger test to me, in my opinion. The Bills didn't really need that game last week. If they were to lose any game, that would probably be the one. So get that out of the way, get back right. They're still getting Matt Milano back on the defensive side. He was out for most of the year. He's getting worked back in. I think this team will be fine in the long run, but it definitely was something to be alarming when you saw them give up that many points. It was a little alarming, but I wouldn't be in panic mode. See how they look this week, and then we'll be back next week, I'm sure, to discuss the same exact thing.
Yeah, that punt return for a touchdown really did them in too. That was pretty awful to watch.
One more point.
Yeah, go ahead.
How about that play calling? You're at the 1 yard line. You cannot use your timeouts. There is no possible way. You can use your timeouts, and you do a quarterback sneak with Josh Allen. I think they're at the 2-yard line, not the 1-yard line. Like, I get it. He gets in a ton, and he got in the second time you did that. But if they had that extra timeout, I really think they would have got the ball back. They could have kicked it deep. Didn't have to do the onside kick. They would have had all 3 timeouts down by 2, and that would have been their chance to make the
You're
stop.
foreshadowing my bozo of the week there, McDermott. He needs some help, man. I'm telling you, that is pretty atrocious game management. That is atrocious time management. I say this almost every week. How do you get paid millions of dollars to make these absolute shit decisions? I just can't understand it. Matt, what's your take on not only the Bills defense, but the Cowboys special teams, the shades of Lonnie Lett? The shades of Lonnie Lett, man. What were they doing?
Leon Lett revisited. First with the Bills real quick. I said on last week's show, I gave out the Bills. I gave out the Bills minus, I think it was 5.5, went down to 4.5. But I also said either the Bills will win big or they're going to get beat. And because it was a total trap situation, they were coming off Kansas City bye week, San Francisco, 2 big teams. San Francisco hasn't been what we thought they were. But those are big. And now you go all the way to the West Coast, and you've got a trip to Detroit on deck. It was a bit of a trap spot, and they still put up 42 points because Josh Allen's unfreaking believable. So yeah, the D had a bad day. They've had a few of them. 35 points at Baltimore, 28 points to Arizona in the opener, 27 to Miami. They've also given up exactly 10 points 5 times this season, granted against mostly weak competition. So there is some concern. Look at Baltimore and the Rams, and Arizona to a little bit degree, and Miami. They've all got either a dynamic quarterback or a lot of weapons, or a combination of both. That's going to be tricky if the Bills, get to that situation in the playoffs. It's why they need home field advantage. Will they get it now with that loss? I don't know. As far as the Cowboys, I mean, look, it's who they are this season. It's one mistake after another. It's really hard. I don't want to call it. That's why I don't call my bozo of the week. Yes, you're taught probably 3 times a week. Don't do that. Don't do it. But when the ball's right there, it's your instinct to catch the ball, but you still shouldn't do it. There's no excuse for doing it, but it's just a natural instinct to grab the ball.
Yeah, that's the killer, man. though. Just have some discipline, though.
Yeah.
At that point in the game, you saw Micah Parsons at the end. He was just beside.
That was so funny. To watch.
He was
As a Giants fan.
Yeah, he was the guy that came out and said, "Oh, we're back. We're back. We still have a shot at this. We still have a shot at the playoffs." And then the special teams said, "No, we don't."
I hope you guys in-game Jamar Chase to score a touchdown after that, because that was a gimme. That was a layup.
Yeah.
I had Jamar Chase 7 receptions. He got 14. I'm like, damn, I could have had 10 plus for like plus $1 million.
We'll talk about him later too. He's unbelievable.
And then on the other side, I also had CD 7+ receptions. He had 4 receptions in the first quarter, and then Cooper Rush was like, "Nah, I don't think I'll look at you anymore." I don't understand how that happens. That's not my bozo of the week, though. Like I said, Sean McDermott is my bozo of the week for that absolute horrendous play call with the QB sneak. Had to use a timeout. As soon as that happened, Tom Brady, and honestly, kudos to Tom Brady. He's done an incredible job at broadcasting after that first week. You could tell he went in the lab. He understood what he needed to change, and he's done it. But right away, he's like, "Yep, that's the game. Game's over." And lo and behold, the game was over. I think onside kicks are converting at 3% this year. There's absolutely no shot once they did not get in on that QB sneak that they were going to win. That's my bozo of the week. He's kind of deserved. He's been the runner-up a couple weeks, but this is the week he absolutely deserves.
He did the same thing against Houston. He botched the clock management at the end of that game and allowed Houston to win when they should have gone to overtime. I mean, you can't do that in crucial situations. You just can't.
And you see, again, it comes back to that thing. Like, they're getting paid millions of dollars to make these atrocious decisions. It hurts my soul a little bit. Alpha, your bozo of the week.
Well, I was going to go with what you went with, but I'm not going to double up here. I'm going to take a different approach here, and that's going to be the entire organization of the Jacksonville Jaguars for winning a football game. They went from the first pick in the draft all the way down to the 5th pick because of the strength of schedule.
Really? Oh,
they dropped all the way down to 5 by winning a meaningless game against Tennessee. Yeah. You got to learn from the Giants, man. Shank the kick it low, lose the game, get your draft pick, because this team needs a lot of help in a lot of different areas, and they really need a high draft pick. So my original choice was going to be the same as you, Dustin, but because you stole that from me, I'm going to have to still give a different one. And my runner-up was going to be the Jaguars, because you just can't win that game.
Yeah, it's always hard, though, like in those situations, because you have guys' jobs on the line. The coaches need W to their record, all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, terrible decision.
I had no idea they were sitting at the number 1 pick going in. No idea. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Matt, who's your bozo?
Yeah, it was. We were talking about it was AJ Brown. I mean, just
Oh yeah.
I just again, but it's not unexpected because that's what these wide receivers, they are divas, and most of them are, not all of them are, but it's just not unexpected. It just when you win 90, you expect it when you lose 4 in a row and you're on the verge of not making the playoffs. You see guys flow like that, but why? Even if it was supposed to be kept in house, why are you wrecking your locker room? It just doesn't make any sense.
Agreed.
Yeah, I honestly think they're gonna come out with like a bat out of hell this week and put it to who are they playing again?
Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
Pittsburgh.
I feel like that's almost like a thing that unites.
More to come on that.
But yeah, more to come on that. Let's head on over to our primetime picks. We got a pretty good one. Thursday night football. We got the Rams 49ers. It could be the game of the week if the Bills Lions weren't playing. This is a fantastic game to watch. I'm excited for this one. We got 78% of the bets on the Rams +3. I'm not. I understand that, to be honest. 78% on the over at 49.5. Alpha, where are you headed tonight?
Public's got it right tonight, gentlemen. It's going to be the Rams plus the 3 points. I know a lot of people I'm saying are all over this 49ers team because they had a big performance last week, but they beat up on the coachless, lowly Bears. Like, to me, I don't take anything out of that game. And the Rams are coming in off that monster win we talked about earlier over the Bills. This offense is getting clicking at the right time. We talk about it on this show all the time, that when they are healthy with Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and Matt Stafford, with Kyron Williams in the backfield, this team is very hard to stop offensively. This 49ers team is banged up all over the defensive unit. I think the Rams will have no problem moving the ball, being able to score. If I were to take a total in this game, I would take the over. I definitely think that's going to hit. But my favorite play on this game is going to be the Rams +3. But I also have a question for you boys about this game. Taking a look at the player props, because I always like to see the player prop market, what they're saying, what we can find out about this game. I know that they said that Guerrero is going to play. Yeah. All week they're saying Guerrero's in. He's the starter. He's going to get the workload. But you take a look at FanDuel, you take a look at DraftKings, you take a look at any sports book. Right now, Patrick Taylor, the true backup to Isaac Guerrero, has the exact same props as Guerrero.
He's going to be playing through a foot sprain. I think there's a report that came out. He's got a foot sprain. He plans on playing through it.
They said he is playing.
Sportsbook trying to screw you? Is the sportsbook trying to screw the public? Which that could also be the case.
Remember week 1. That's all I can say about this topic. What happened in week 1 for this 49ers backfield? Nothing was said about Christian McCaffrey's injury until 20 minutes before the game. After the game, they asked Isaac Guerrero, they asked who was the other backup before him? I'm blanking on his name. Not Guerrero.
Jordan Mason.
24. Mason. They asked Mason after the game and said, when did you know you were going to get the start? And he said on Friday. He said on Friday. He let that out early. He made a big mistake. You're not supposed to do that. But he did it. This feels just like that. Why is Patrick Taylor's props identical to Guerrero when they said Guerrero was 100% playing and starting and getting a full workload? To me, that's fishy. That's fishy. So for any time, let me pull it up here just to show what I'm talking about. You take a look at touchdown scoring, right? So anytime touchdown, Patrick Taylor is -125. And Isaac Guerrero is -125. 2+ touchdowns for both players is +500 on the dot. Why is Patrick Taylor's numbers identical to the starter? Something's fishy.
Yeah, I don't think I'm even going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. The running back situation is murky. Nobody knows a thing unless you're in that circle. I'm staying away from running backs. I'm actually my plays are coming out on Twitter later. I've got George Kittle. I've got Debo. I love those plays.
I love that. Me too.
Yeah, I love those plays a lot. But yeah, those running back props, I would stay away. So far away from those.
One point I wanted to bring up as well. Welcome, everybody watching to the Fantasy Football Playoffs. This is week 1 in almost every single fantasy football league. Do you start Guerrero? He's a lot of people's running back 1. When you're seeing Patrick Taylor now with these kind of odds to get the same exact workload, in my mind, you have to bench Guerrero, which is a huge move. It's Thursday, so you can't wait on this. You have to make the move now. What do you guys recommend?
I'm not playing either of them, to be honest. I did drop my fab on Patrick Taylor. But that's just a luxury to have, just back there just in case. I'm not starting any of them. At best case scenario, I think they split carries. Best case, I think they split carries. And I think if you have 2 running backs, keep those in your slot and look for a wideout in your flex if you don't have another running back, because that's a terrifying thing to do week 1 of NFL playoffs or fantasy playoffs. I'm not touching it.
I know a lot of people in that exact situation tonight. I've seen a ton of texts. A bunch of my buddies have reached out. What the hell should I do? I'm in the exact same boat you are, Mr. Dustin.
Yeah, I'm playing guys like Rashad Bateman on Baltimore who's healthy. I'm not playing him this week, but he's on my bench, and he's been a pretty damn good field stretcher.
Absolutely.
More on him later, though. So you're taking Rams +3. Matt, who are you on?
Yeah, I am. I wanted this 49ers team. You guys know how much I hate the 49ers. Nobody hates the 49ers more than me, and they're scaring the living hell out of me. I'm not giving them a ton of credit for beating the hell out of the Bears, but they still scare me because that division is still winnable. That being said, I'm very reluctantly going with my one-time favorite team when I was a kid, the Rams, until they left LA, and I'm taking the 3 points. It's just too easy to make a case for the Rams. They're 6-2 in their last 8 games. They've got road wins over Seattle, New Orleans, New England. They've beaten San Francisco already at home. That big comeback win. They beat Minnesota at home, a playoff team. They just whipped Buffalo. They're healthy. Those 2 receivers are incredible. And you look at San Francisco, back-to-back wins once all season. Dallas in Week 8, at Tampa Bay after their bye in Week 10. That's it. They've been upset by Seattle at home, Kansas City at home, which they should have never been upset because Kansas City should have been favored. Arizona at home, the Rams on the road, the Vikings on the road. You brought up Debo a little bit ago. This guy's disappeared. 22, 21, 20, and 22 receiving yards the last 4 games. Yep. And then the 49ers defense, they shut down the Bears. So what? They allowed 24-plus points in 7 of their last 11 still. The only exceptions were Tampa Bay and Seattle, both scored 20. And New England and Chicago, neither which have a consistent offense, scored 13. So I don't trust this defense against a healthy Nacua and a healthy Cooper Kupp and an on-point Matthew Stafford. And all that being said, I know the 49ers are going to win this game by 14 points. It's going to make me sick.
Don't say that, bro. I'm with you on the Rams. Don't say that.
Because I'm one-upping you guys, man. I'm taking the Rams money line. The odds, the spread is just kind of odd to me right now. The Rams are surging. The 49ers have just 1 win against a winning team in 2 months. You guys saw what Puka can do, man. He is quickly surging to be one of the best wideouts in the NFL. And that's not even an understatement. He is incredible, man. You throw that ball within a 5-yard radius of him, and he's coming down. He's gonna die for it. He's gonna risk his life for that football. I absolutely love watching that man play football. The Rams, again, they're surging. They've won 6 of their last 8 games. They beat the Bills, Seahawks, Vikings. Matt, you talked a little bit about and the Rams have already beaten San Fran this year. I'm taking them on the money line, plus 120, plus 122. You can get that at a few places. Take that and run. If you want to be a little bit riskier, if you want to be on the safe side, take the spread because this could come down to a last-second field goal.
I will make one more final point, to your point about the money line. The Rams last swept the 49ers in 2018. It's their only sweep in the last 20 years since 2004.
Ooh, wow.
Damn. Well, something to monitor, something to think about.
Not to rain on your parade, Dustin.
Yeah.
I'm praying the Rams win.
I still like my play. I'm still sticking
with it. I like it.
All right, fellas, from Thursday to Sunday, we've got 50-50 on the spread at -3 between the Packers and Seahawks. And we've got 74% of bets on the over at 45.5. Where are we headed, Matt, and why? What are you saying?
This was one of the tougher games for me to handicap for a few reasons. Both teams have some key injuries, especially Green Bay. They have a bunch of linebackers and defensive backs with question marks. Kenneth Walker apparently is still a question mark. He didn't play last week. But this came down to me taking the Packers on the money line for 2 reasons. 2.5 doesn't sound like a lot, but, Packers have played a lot of close games. Just look at Chicago. They get a blocked field goal. They win by a point. But look at Green Bay's losses. 5 points versus Philly and Brazil. 2 points at home to Minnesota. They were down 28-0. Got to say that. 10 points against Detroit with a hobbled Jordan Love. And then 3 points last week at Detroit. So that's a combined point difference. They're -20 in their losses. And the combined record of the teams that they've lost to is 34-5. Now, Seattle's 4 games straight up in ATS winning streak is impressive, especially all as an underdog. But 2 wins were against Arizona. 1 was against banged-up San Francisco, and the other one was at the Jets. They had to come back to win that game against the crappy Jets. Their combined record of those teams is 15-24. So I just think this is a situation that sets up okay for the Packers. I don't like the back-to-back road games, but they get some extra rest. Don't forget, too, that this Packers team – this Seahawks team – their 4 home games prior to beating the Arizona Week 12, they lost to the Rams in overtime. They got blown out by 3 touchdowns with the Bills. They lost by 12 to the 49ers. And, yes, Danny Dimes threw 2 touchdown passes in a 29-20 Giants win. I believe that's the last Giants victory.
Dimes.
So, and then Seattle's home wins, lastly, I point out, Bo Nix in his NFL debut, Skylar Thompson / Tim Boyle, sorry about that, Dustin, and then Kyler Murray. So it's just Green Bay is a better team and should win this game. But the fact it's such a short point spread, it's going to be tight. I don't love this play, but I'm going Packers money line just to be safe.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Alpha, where are you headed? Because I think you might be on the same side.
I need Matt to be a lot more confident. We haven't been on the same page like this in weeks, and we're on the same page all day so far today. I'm all over the Packers money line. I'm not a big believer in the Seahawks team. Everyone says, the 12th man, it's hard to win in Seattle. They're 3-4 at home this year. That's not really a thing this year for this specific team. And just when you see the Seahawks team play, does anyone have a ton of faith in them? I know Matt made a great point. He brought up that Kenneth Walker is a true questionable in this game. He's not practiced this week. So you guys know I'm always over it. And when we say on this show every single Thursday, a guy has yet to practice this week, 9 out of 10 times that guy has not played on the game on Sunday. So I don't think we're going to be able to see Kenneth Walker this weekend. I don't think he's going to be able to go. You brought up a lot about the Packers injuries, which I agree with you. It's a little nervous. That's why I'm not taking the spread. But when it comes down to the money line here, the Packers are the much better team. It's a very big game for both teams. And I think the Packers are able to take it to them and beat them. It may come on a last-second field goal, as Matt said. We've seen them come down to last-second games quite frequently. But in this specific spot, I do think the Packers will take the Seahawks out. Not sure about the point spread. Not willing to take it. Give me the money line, though. I'm very confident they at least win this game outright.
Real quick here, too. I want to point out real quick something. A little bit of sneak peek into my Sunday night football player props. Geno Smith has thrown 12 interceptions this year, 10 at home. 10.
Ooh,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I can see. Is Jair Alexander back this week?
He's not on the injury report.
Oh, he's not. Okay.
There you go. Hey, I could see him getting a pick. I mean, that Packers defense, they've been playing some pretty good football themselves. And it's kind of funny looking at the picks here. You and Matt and Alpha are kind of on the same page almost throughout the show.
Oh, good.
Just a little hint. Usually they're head to head. This is going to be. We love to see it. We love to see it. I'm a little bit different than you guys. I'm on the over. The big key for me is betting this over is kind of like the belief in the Packers offense. On the season, Green Bay ranked 6th in offensive EPA, 7th in total points scored. Lately, the group's been even better, though. They're averaging 30 points per game in the last 4 games. Seattle's offense on the other side has kind of been bringing it all season. They just ran downhill against the Cardinals. Charbonnet is a pretty damn good backup to have if Kenneth Walker can't go. They scored 30 last week. They've scored 56 over their last 2 weeks. Give me the over here. Jordan Love has found his groove again. I think this over hits pretty easily over here.
I like the over in this game, too.
Yeah, that's our Sunday nighter. Let's head on over to the dual Monday nighter. One game a little bit more. Actually, they're both kind of bad. But
they both suck. They both suck.
On Monday night. I don't know why they didn't flex this. But, hey, we got to cap it anyway. We got the Bears. We got the Vikings. 91% of bets are on the over in this one at 43.5. 54% are on Chicago at +6.5. I think you can get it 7 at some sports books right now. Alpha, where are you headed on this one?
Well, first of all, I do want to put in, I just got injury news 3 seconds ago about this game. During the show, I always have the injury report up, and we just got today's practice report from this game. DeAndre Swift is a true did not practice, which I thought he was going to practice today. That could be a very big loss for this team if he does not go. But I am on the Bears in this spot. I know that they did just get blown out last week. I know that they had a bad performance there, but I do think that's reflected in the line, and I don't think that's fully accurate. It was the Bears' first game without Matt Eberflus. It is going to take a little bit of time. You do see a lot in professional sports. When a team fires their coach, the team the next week comes out like a bat out of hell. I was banking on that last week, and I was wrong. Yeah. I'm hoping on week 2 they come out and they play a good style football. Listen, Mr. Caleb Williams, I'm calling you out specifically. Everyone said you've only been bad because of your coach. Well, he wasn't there last week, and you were just as bad as you've been all year. Your team had 4 yards of total offense at the half. I expect them to have a better performance here. I expect the Bears to be able to cover, and the Bears might even win this game outright. The Vikings are one of those teams that if they lost to the Bears this week, would anybody be really that surprised, truthfully? I mean, they're the type of team that I would believe would have a major collapse in such that would lose to a team like the Bears. So give me the Bears plus the 7. Love that play this week.
Divisional game. Anything can happen, man.
Exactly.
Matt, where are you headed?
Yeah, and don't forget, too, this Minnesota team, just like it was a few years ago with Kirk Cousins under center, they're just a Cinderella with these one-score victories, right? They keep piling up. I mean, last week they blew the Falcons out by 42-21, but I think it was 21-21 game at one point. So, it was. At the end of the third quarter, it's 21-21. So, I'm with Alpha again. I'm taking the Bears plus 7, and it's kind of a difficult pick to back based on what happened last week. But as Alpha pointed out, these games happen. It was a real weird situation they were in. One thing I also want to point out too, Minnesota's 6-game winning streak, right? But they're only 3-2-1 against the spread in those 6-game winning streaks. They're 5-1 on the road, but they're only 3-2-1 against the spread on the road. Chicago's been blown out 3 times, 29-9 at Arizona, 19-3 the very following week against the Patriots was an inexcusable loss, as inexcusable as the Bengals losing home to the Patriots. And then last week at San Francisco. Otherwise, they've been competitive in every game. To that point, Chicago's 3-0 against the spread as a dog of more than 3 points. 19-13 loss at Houston's a 6.5-point underdog. The 20-19 loss, it should have been a win against Green Bay, is a 6-point underdog. And then the 23-20 loss at the Lions on Thanksgiving is a 9.5-point underdog. So this team shows up as a big underdog. I'm not a believer in the Vikings. It's one of those teams you're already looking ahead to who you're going to bet against come playoff time. This Vikings team might be one of them, depending on who they draw for their first game. Yeah, and Minnesota's also got a little bit of a question mark with Stephon Gilmore in the back at the end of the second. He might not play in this game. So 7 points is just too much. This is a 4-point game to me, so I'm taking.
Me too.
Yeah,
I have it exactly the same number at 4. It's crazy you said that's exactly where I have it.
Look at you guys coming together to make picks.
Ooh, I like it. I like it now.
The holiday season, right? We come together.
Wait until next Thursday, though. If you jinxed all my picks, I'm going to be pissed, bro.
Yeah. I'm going to – thankfully, we have some variety on this show. I'm going to stick with the under here. I mean, like I said, it's an interdivision matchup. Bears are under fire. Like you guys said, man, all things are pointing toward the Bears cover because everyone and their mother loves the Vikings in this one. But, I'm going to keep it with the under. I do expect the Vikings to blitz Caleb heavily as they did last week to success against Kirk Cousins. He literally had no time in the pocket. It was, if you're an Atlanta fan, that was a very difficult game to watch after half. I expect Caleb Williams, who seemingly gets sacked 40 times a week, to have a difficult time scoring on this defense in what could be a lopsided win. But I also see as an interdivision game, I think Bears keep this one close. I don't think Chicago will do enough to keep this to an over, so I'm going to fade the public here. I'm going to go under. I love the Bears +7 here. If it's an under, I love the game staying close within a touchdown. So I like your plays. I love my plays. Let's win some money on
Let's
Monday.
get it, fellas. Let's get it.
We're only our first Monday nighter. We have an even worse game. Shout out to Sincere McCormick, one of the best names in NFL. He's now the RB1.
I was just looking at his name, literally just looking at him. I was going to bring that up. I'm like, who the hell is Sincere McCormick?
Shout out to Sincere. He is the RB1 over in Vegas. 58% are on the Raiders actually here at +4. 78% of bets are on the over at 44. Alpha, where are you headed here, brother?
Boys, there's only one play in my opinion on this game. And it's absolutely the under 44.5. I don't expect the Riddler, who's now the quarterback for the Raiders, to be able to move the ball. We all know he is one of, if not the worst quarterback in the NFL. This guy can run a little bit, but when he's forced to pass the ball, it's nerve-wracking to watch him play. It's going to be a difficult game
to watch, I'm not going to lie.
And then you take a look at the Falcons. I don't think they want Kirk Cousins dropping back, taking 48 sacks to Max Crosby. I think they're going to be pounding the ball with Bijan Robinson, which was the only way they were successful last week. Yeah. Which, by the way, Matt, we talked about this last week, how in that game, Bijan was going up against the number 1 rush defense. It was the only thing working for them was running the ball. It's kind of crazy how that played out. Yep. But, I definitely think this is an under game. I don't have faith in either of these offenses. And I think both teams are going to really be trying to run the ball. I think it's going to be a very run-dominant script. They're not going to want to turn it over and give the other team good field position, chances to score. Points will come in a premium and take the under. I think it's a very easy under. I don't think this one gets close to 40.
Yeah, I think if you're just doing the eye test and you look at these two teams, you look at their two offenses, they're like, there's absolutely no chances it's going over. Matt, where are you headed here? Yeah,
well, first of all, I apologize to everyone. This game's in my backyard. I can't go in and shut the doors to Allegiant Stadium, so these guys can't get in and watch this crappy game. I'm plugging my nose. I'm laying the points with the Falcons. It's just you can't back the Raiders right now. 9 straight losses, 3-6 against the spread. They scored 13, 13, 15, 17, 18, 19, 19, 20, and 24 points. 17.6 points per game is all they're scoring. So to your point about the under, of course, the defense is giving up 27 plus in 7 of those 9. So that's a little bit scary. Now, the Falcons, obviously, 4 straight losses straight up against the spread. They're not scoring points either. And they lost to New Orleans, and they got blown out at Denver. It's just they're not in good form either. But let's not forget that this Atlanta team still went to Philly and won, got it out of victory that they shouldn't have had. They took Kansas City to the wire and probably would have won if not for the officiating fiasco, not calling pass interference in the end zone. They swept the Bucs, who've turned out to be a pretty decent team. They would have beaten the Chargers if not Cousins throws 4 picks against a very good defense. To that point about Cousins and his being Kirk Cousins again with his interceptions, well, the Raiders just have 7 interceptions all season, tied for the 10th fewest. They had 2 against Mayfield last week, but those are the first 2 that they've had since picking on Burrow late in week 9. So I just, I don't like laying the 4 points, but I can't back the Raiders right now. And even though the Falcons don't have a huge fan base, every team that goes into Las Vegas, except for the Chargers, is a home team. So they're not going to have a big crowd advantage anyway. So.
Yeah, no, I'm with you actually. And quick shout out to FFF on YouTube. Appreciate that from the YouTube audience. Welcome. I'm also on the Falcons here. And I mean, like right away, I like the Falcons here. I don't know why the public's on the Raiders here. They're down a starting QB. They're down their starting 2 running backs. They're taking on a Kirk Cousins-led team absolutely desperate for a win after what just happened in Minnesota. I feel like, they've been embarrassed 4 straight times, and the division is now out of their hands. I think Falcons show up on Monday night. The defense makes a splash against Riddler. We call him the Riddler, and they win by 10. I think there's no shot that the Falcons come out flat, and I think that -4 should be closer to -5, -6. I absolutely love that play.
One more point.
Desperate. Go ahead, Alpha.
One more point I want to make, and I brought this up earlier with the Jaguars, how they were my bozo of the week because they shouldn't be winning games.
Yeah.
The Las Vegas Raiders, if they lose every game for the rest of the year, will have the #1 pick. They will be getting Shedeur Sanders, and they will be able to get a quarterback, so they don't have to keep using Gardner Minshew, the Riddler, and whoever else bum Aiden O'Connell that they're putting back there. So for me, I don't think the Raiders are interested in winning this game. It's very similar to the Giants in the fact that I believe ownership with the general manager and the coaches have all got together and said, what is the best thing we could do? And I think, truthfully, it's to lose ball games and get a quarterback in the draft. It's so close at the top of the draft board. There are 8 teams with 3 wins or less. If the Raiders win this game, they go from the 1st pick in the draft to the 7th pick in the draft. No matter what other teams do, they will move up at least 6 spots. So I don't see a way that they win this game. I don't think they want to win this game.
They're throwing. I mean, when's the
you
last
just made the point I've been making all year long, Alpha. There's so many shitty teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
Well, you saw it last week. That slate with all the buys, that was the worst slate of football, I think.
It was easily.
Yeah. There were, I think I tweeted out, there were 7. Yeah, there were 7 early games, so 14 teams total. 3 of them had winning records.
Yeah, just absolutely atrocious. When's the last time the Raiders had a good quarterback anyway? Was it like
Rich Gannon?
You know what? Please let them get the #1 pick, because I don't believe in Shedeur Sanders at all.
I agree with you. Let them get the 1st pick because I do not want my Giants at the 2nd pick taking Shedeur Sanders.
Because you know what comes with him? Papa. Papa's coming with him.
Papa's coming for sure. They're going to hire him on that coaching staff somehow.
Yep.
Some way.
I'll take Travis Hunter, please, at the top of the draft board. I don't think this is a quarter. I don't think there's any quarterbacks in this draft that will be successful NFL quarterbacks. I think last year was the big crop we see all the time. You get a big year and then you get a dead year. And I think this is the dead year where there's no real true quarterback prospects.
You guys ready for Oddspedia games of the week?
Yeah.
All right, we got these. Okay, we've got a pretty good slate this week. I talked a lot of shit about the last week's slate, but we've got Steelers, Eagles, we got Bills, Lions here. We got tonight a very good primetime game, but let's keep it with the Steelers, Eagles here for Oddspedia game of the week. 80% of bets are on the over at 42, which I kind of like. 79% are on the Steelers at +5.5, which I also like. Alpha, I think that's where you're headed, aren't you?
I am. I'm on the Steelers here. I think their defense is going to do a good enough job to contain this game. I'm not sure they win this game outright, but I do believe this is a very big test for the Philadelphia Eagles. What is the strength of the Philadelphia Eagles? And that's Saquon Barkley. Around the line of scrimmage, blocking and being able to move the ball via the ground. What is the strength of the Pittsburgh Steelers? Their defensive line with Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt. It's a clash of which team's going to do it better, and I personally believe that the Steelers have a better defensive line than the Eagles have an offensive line, even with Saquon Barkley. So I do think we will see the Steelers be able to contain this Eagles team. They may even win the game outright. I'm very big on the Steelers this year. They've done me very right all year long, and I think we're going to continue to see the Steelers win games and play well. I see them winning this game, but for some a little insurance, I am going to take the +5.5.
I love it. And before I head it over to you, Matt, I'm just going to stay here because that's my pick too, man. I love the Steelers +5.5. And like I said, I do love me some A.J. Brown props on this. Receptions, receiving, take the over, whatever it is. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But, yeah, I love what this offense has turned into in Pittsburgh, man. They've turned into one of the best teams in the NFL against the spread as well. As a result of that offense, they're 10-3 against the spread this year. They are the new ATS darlings. They are last year's Detroit Lions, even though Detroit's doing a pretty damn good job covering this year. But they are 10-3 against the spread. I love Pittsburgh and what that offense has done. They're scoring 24 points a game. I think they do what they can to shut down Saquon. Like you talked about it, Alpha, that defensive line will have to feast. They own the 4th best rushing defense in the NFL. I think this will be a field goal game on both sides, whoever comes out. I still think that 5.5 is a preposterous number to give the Steelers right now with how good they're playing. So I'm going to go Steelers plus 5.5.
It's Mike Tomlin, baby. It's Mike Tomlin.
Man. It's Mike Tomlin. Come on. You can't bet against that, man.
Yep, 100%.
He just wins football games.
Yep.
Matt, where are you headed on this one, brother?
This was one I was waffling on what to go with the side. I probably would have taken the Eagles, but in the end, I'm taking the under. 42.5.
I like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
You've got the number 4 and number 5 scoring defenses. Philadelphia's given up 18 points per game, and the Steelers are giving up 18.3 points per game. And I know that the Eagles' offense has kicked it up a notch in recent weeks, right? 37 against the Rams, 26 against Washington, 34 against the Cowboys, 28 against Jacksonville, 37 against Cincinnati, 28 Giants. None of those defenses are any good, guys. None of them. And while they scored 24 against Baltimore, they had 14 until halfway through the fourth quarter. Okay, and then they struggled against Carolina last week with 22 points. They faced one top 10 scoring defense, and that's the Chargers who lead. Oh, I'm sorry, no, that's the Steelers that face the Chargers. So, yeah, the Eagles have not faced, I'm looking down the line here, I don't think they faced a top 10 or even top 15.
No, they haven't played good teams.
They haven't played anybody. So, yeah, I think this is, and this is a game that Mike Tomlin, speaking of Tomlin, he knows his way to win this game is to not get in a shootout because the Eagles have way more weapons than the Steelers do.
Absolutely.
Grind it out, chew the clock, beat Nick Sirianni in his game, which shouldn't be too difficult to do. Another reason I like you guys play, now that I think about it, taking the Steelers plus the points. But I just think this is a low-scoring game. This smells like something like a 21-17 type of
game. Something like that.
You know what I think, Matt?
Go ahead.
This is the exact type of game where everyone thinks it's going to be a banger. Everyone thinks we're going to see points. These are two fun teams. And it's going to be exactly what you said, a 21.
And yet the total's only 42.5, right? And so that's the other thing. It's a little trappy there, right? You think, why isn't this total 45?
Oh, yeah. I agree with you.
That's why everyone's on the over. 80% of bets right now are on the over as of yesterday. It's just destined to be an under. It's destined to be an ugly game, man.
Good find, Matt. Good find.
Yeah, I love it. Good play. Let's head on over to our final game of the week, our final Oddspedia game of the week. Arguably the best game on the slate. Now I'll just say it is the best game on the slate. We got the Bills. We got the Lions. We got 70% of bets on the Bills plus 2.5, 65% on the over at 54. That is a big, big number. Can they get over that, Alpha? Where are you headed?
So for this game, they're getting over it. It's over 54.5 is my play. I know it's scary. It's scary as hell. It is probably, I believe, the highest total we've seen all year at 54.5 in any game.
Yep.
And guys, totals that are this high end up hitting at a pretty high clip. The highest totals every year usually end up going over. We talked about it earlier about this Bills defense. Not sold on them as of right now. I don't think it's a huge worry because of how dynamic their offense is, but they're going up against the best offense in the league in the Lions. I do think the Lions are going to be able to score some points. On the other side, we just saw the Bills put up 42 points against the Rams. The Bills know how to score as well. They're coming into their own. Amari Cooper is getting comfortable in that offense, and I do think we see a ton of back and forth scoring in this game. It's not my favorite play of the week because it's such a high total, but I'm definitely going to be playing it over 54.5. I think we do see an absolute shootout.
Matt, where are you headed?
I'm on the same thing that Alpha's on, despite the fact as I'm looking at it now, I got 1, 2, 3 unders. So basically it looks like 2 and 4 to the under when the totals are 50 in Lions games. And actually last year they had several games in the 50s and they did go under. This is a super chalky, super square play, but I don't see any other way. I don't trust either side. The Lions defensive injuries have me concerned. The Bills playing another road game has me concerned. Detroit's due to lose after winning 11 straight games. It's just kind of one of those weird games to handicap from a side perspective. But again, you got the number 1 scoring offense, 32.1 points per game, against the number 2 scoring offense, 30.5 points per game. Buffalo scored 30-plus points, guys, in 7 straight games. I brought up the point about Buffalo's worst games defensively. against teams with dynamic offenses. What do the Lions have? A really dynamic and loaded offense. So it's nasty. Taking over 54 and a half. It's gross. But and we could be this is one of those games where it could be over by halftime, and it also could be 21-21 going to the fourth quarter, and it flies over the total.
Yeah,
just because
exactly.
the weapons on these
Feel
teams.
the same.
It's just kind of a nasty plague to play an over 54 when you're giving out handicapping advice, but I just don't see another way to go.
Yeah,
I feel the same.
For me, guys, I'm kind of going back to the well. I can never bet against this Lions offense. I mean, you don't have to hear me explain why I love the Lions offense, but they've won me a ton of money this year. They are incredible at covering. I think they're 9-3 or 9-4 against the spread this year. And also, kind of look no further than what the Rams did to the Bills just last week. They kind of gave the rest of the NFL a kind of blueprint as to how to beat this Bills defense. And now you're going up against an even better offense, the best offense in the NFL. Well, I do believe, the Bills defense will have a better showing. I just don't see an avenue for this team to keep up with Detroit, especially after last week. I feel like 1 or 2 stops is all Detroit will need in order to win this one. That's a credit to your guys' point for the over. I think the over is also a solid play. As much as it pains me to go against, an MVP candidate like Josh Allen, I mean, you saw what he did last week. Absolute stud. I have to stick to the number 1 offense, though, in football. The big kahunas that Dan Campbell owns, going forward on 4th and 1 with the game on the line. I love everything about this Lions team. I'm going to stick with them. I'm going Lions -2.5. Their defense is pretty damn good, too. So I'm going Lions -2.5. I love the over plays. Let's head on over to our props, fellas, from picks to props. One of our favorite segments, roundtable this bad boy and fire off our 3 best prop plays for Sunday. If you're in chat, man, if you have a prop you love, send it to us. We'll talk about it. But while we wait, I will fire off my best prop for Sunday, and that is Tyrone Tracy under rushing. I'm not sure if the rushing props are out on this game yet, but Tracy hasn't gone over 50 yards in his last 3 weeks. And that's despite getting 16 carries a week ago against the Saints. He's just been abysmal. Evidently, teams are kind of stacking the box and making the Giants win through the air, which, they don't win very often. Against Baltimore, they'll be going up against the best run defense in the NFL, and they'll also likely be playing from behind very quickly against Baltimore. Let's be serious.
Yeah.
Fade Tracy in this one. I'm going under. That could be my best prop play of the week. Tyrone Tracy under rushing. Alpha, your best prop play for Sunday.
I love that. Quickly, I want to talk about your prop play, guys. I spoke earlier about teams that strictly want to lose. Go look at what the Giants roster is in the injury report. Anybody that has a scrape on their knee has been sent to the IR. The Giants starting safety was added to the IR today, Tyler Nubin. So it's more and more bodies are falling off the roster, which don't think that's coincidental. Players don't tank. Ownership, GMs, and management tanks, and the way to do that is not have the best players on the field. And it's indicative when you look at the line in this Giants game. The Ravens are favored by 17 points. Have we seen any team be a -17 this year?
Up to 17 now? It was 14.5.
Yep, it's now up to an even 17 because the Giants had 3 more starters added to the IR today. They are not playing. Basically, they have 8 guys on defense that were on either practice squad or on no teams 2 weeks ago. Legitimately 2 weeks ago. 8 of the starters are in that classification. So I don't expect a lot. But that's enough about the Giants. I had to get something in about them this week. You know I always have to talk about them just a little bit. My favorite prop this week, we're going back to the well. Something that's cashed back-to-back weeks for us, and we're running it again for a 3rd week. Jerry Jeudy keeps finding the end zone for us.
Fix it. I love Jerry Jeudy, man.
Bro, the Browns are going to be down yet again. They're consistently down in games. They are playing the Kansas City Chiefs. The only way they're going to be able to keep up with this team is they're going to have to throw for some touchdowns. Who's the guy Jameis is finding his deep ball to? The one play that he's doing well is that over-the-top bomb, and he's getting it to Jerry Jeudy. We saw a 35-yard touchdown for Jeudy last week. He had a touchdown the week before, and I believe he had one the week before as well. So he's looking for his 4th straight game with a touchdown. You can get it at +150. The books have not adjusted yet. Take Jerry Jeudy.
Smart play.
Nice.
Matt, favorite prop for Sunday, brother?
I'm going to roll the dice with a big fat plus money play and Jamar Chase to score not 1, but 2 touchdowns at Tennessee. In case you guys didn't know, and I'm sure you do, Jamar Chase has 15 touchdowns this season. He didn't have one in week 1. He didn't have one in week 2. So those 15 touchdowns have come in his last 11 contests. His 5 multi-touchdown games have come in the last 11 contests. 3 of them have come in the last 5 weeks, including 8 of his touchdowns in the last 5 weeks. So he's just been a touchdown scoring machine. Now, obviously, he's going up against Tennessee pass defense that has been number 1 in the league all season in pass defense, but that's passing yards allowed. Passing touchdowns, they've given up 20. And look at Tennessee. I just happened to find this out. This is in my article that's coming out on Sunday. They faced 3 rookie quarterbacks, Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels, 3 backup quarterbacks in Malik Willis, Joe Flacco, and Mac Jones, a 3rd-string journeyman in Tyler Huntley of Miami. I mean, how lucky can you get? That's why they're number 1 in pass defense. Well, now they go up against Joe Burrow, who leads the planet in passing yards and passing touchdowns. And the Titans have only given up multiple touchdowns to 1 receiver, and that was Terry McLaurin of Washington 2 weeks ago. Guess who ranks second, tied for second in touchdowns? 6 behind Jamar Chase, by the way, is Terry McLaurin. He's tied with Amon St. Brown. He also scored a touchdown for the Lions against Tennessee in October. McLaurin and St. Brown, they're elite wideouts. Again, they have 6 fewer touchdown receptions than Jamar Chase, and their quarterbacks as good as Goff and Jaden Daniels are. They're not as prolific as Joe Burrow is. I like plus 400 on, at least it was yesterday. I didn't look this morning on Jamar Chase to score 2 touchdowns.
Anytime you're backing Jamar Chase, I feel like it's a good bet. You're putting your hardworking money towards something special. That guy is special. My second best prop play, I got Josh Allen. I'm going back to the well myself. Josh Allen overpassing, man. We're riding him again as he's needed to drop back in order. He's gonna drop back a ton of times against Detroit to keep this game close. He'll likely be needing to air it out again. He's attempted at least 37 passes in 5 of his last 6 games, and the only game he didn't was that snow globe game in Buffalo against San Fran. I think he'll go comfortably over this total in what will probably be another shootout. I think like 60-plus points. You guys are both on the over. I love that play. Josh Allen overpassing against the Lions. Alpha.
I'm also on Josh Allen, but I'm taking his anytime rushing touchdown. When you take a look at how he's hit it in 4 straight games. He continuously keeps catching, and he scored 6 touchdowns in that time frame. So with this high total, I anticipate at least 1 flag in the end zone. Bills will get 1st and goal at the 1-yard line due to a pass interference. And we saw what they'll do if they have no time remaining. They're still going to do a QB sneak. So I think they're going to feature Josh Allen. He will get in the end zone. I don't know why it's in plus money. I think it should be minus money, but it's plus 125 for Josh Allen. Anytime rushing touchdown.
Well, love it. Matt.
Josh Allen is on my anytime touchdown list in my articles, but not for this purpose of this show. I'm going to go with one of my other plays, and that's Brian Robinson Jr. to score an anytime touchdown.
Love it.
He's only scored 2 touchdowns in the last 6 weeks and 3 touchdowns in the last 8 games. So you think, well, why would you bank on him to score this time? Well, because he leads the Commanders in rushing yards and rushing scores. Why is that important? The Saints allowed 16 rushing touchdowns all season. Only 5 teams given up more. In the last 9 games, New Orleans has let the opposing team's top running back in both yards, gains, and touchdowns scored cross the goal line 8 times. The only one who didn't was Nick Chubb in Week 11. So, and of course, he's coming off that injury. The other 8 guys who lead their team in rushing all scored a touchdown on the ground against the Saints. So I expect that in all the Saints have allowed 13 touchdowns on the ground since Week 5. Saquon Barkley got them for 2 back in Week 3. Even Bryce Young in Week 1. The Saints have surrendered a rushing score in 11 of their 14 games. So give me Brian Robinson Jr. to get across the goal line. Hopefully it's him and not Jaden Daniels.
Love it. And, hey, if you want all touchdown plays for Sunday, Matt comes out with an anytime touchdown prop play on Oddspedia Insights every week. We got you covered Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night. I think Alpha's coming out with a Bills-Lions best prop plays as well. So keep it locked on Oddspedia Insights. Lots of changes to win some money. Lots of good analysis over there. I'm headed over to, like I said, fellas, my last prop play is A.J. Brown. You know, it's a pure media reaction play, but I think it needs to be monitored, man. Like I said, the squeaky wheel gets greased. One of the highest paid receivers in football isn't getting the looks he deserves. Saquon changed the whole dynamic of this offense. A.J. Brown isn't happy because of it, even though they've won 1 million games. Brandon Graham obviously stirred up a shitstorm in the media when he said they weren't friends anymore. All that leads me to believe that A.J. Brown will be getting his targets in Week 15 and will at least they'll force him to feast in Week 15 against the Steelers. Give me A.J. Brown over receptions. I think he gets like 7 or 8 easily in that.
I love it.
Alpha, last one, brother.
Quickly, before I give my prop, just got a little more news about the NFL.
Ooh,
this is about the
love
Buffalo
breaking.
Bills.
I needed a new. I'm gonna make a banner for you. Breaking news. Breaking
Right?
news at some point.
So the Bills practice canceled today due to snow. They are not able to get any work in today, so we're not going to get any reports on if anybody was able to practice, who was a DNP. None of those are going to be available, so hopefully we'll at least get that tomorrow. That is an absolute catastrophe for me in the way I like to look into games. I like my Thursday night to have who's practice this week, so just wanted to throw that out there. They're not practicing today. It could be a little bit till you get a little more information on who's actually going to play. But over to my final prop. I'm taking Rico Dowdle anytime touchdown for the Cowboys at -120. That is my juiciest prop of the week, but I do believe that Rico will have no problem getting in. They are versus the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers have had some big games, but the only games I believe that they've had big games is because teams have overlooked them. I don't think teams have been taking them seriously. They know they're still able to win at the end because Carolina's taken a couple teams all the way down to the wire, but they just aren't able to get it done. So I do think we will see Rico being able to get it in. I don't think you want to see Cooper Rush dropping back and throwing 50 times again. We all know what happens when you do that with Cooper Rush. Give me Rico. He should get the end zone at least once.
And that's if Dallas sticks with them. I mean, last week he was averaging 7.7 yards per carry, and they were like, yeah, we'll just let Cooper Rush throw the ball 30 times. Yep. I mean, it made no sense to me. Like,
it can't happen again. It just can't happen again.
They're going to go back to the well. Rico Dowdle is actually playing some pretty damn good football. Love that play. Matt, what's your favorite prop? Or your third favorite prop?
Third favorite prop. The Panthers rush defense, by the way, is just terrible. So it's a good play on your part there.
Yeah.
Again, I'm very glad that I mistakenly waited till late yesterday to send my plays into Dustin, but I'm glad I did because I know there's no way he stole this from me because he already had it in his head. And that's A.J. Brown over 5.5 receptions.
Yep.
You hit on everything. This is just feed the guy, shut him up situation.
Yep.
He does have a team high 48 catches, so I don't know what he's bitching about. He's had 5 or 6 catches in all catches against Jacksonville and 4 last week against Carolina. And you look at the wide receivers against Pittsburgh since week 4. It's been right around that 5.5, but close. Jamar Chase was 6, Higgins, Judy had 5 and 6 in his 2 games. McLaurin had 5, Garrett Wilson had 5, Brock Bowers had 9. Jalen Tolbert had 7 and Jake Ferguson 6 and CeeDee Lamb 5. These guys combined for 18 catches in that game against the Cowboys. And then Michael Pittman had 6 and Josh Downs had 8 for Indianapolis. So they've given up some receptions. They just don't give up a ton of yards. So I think A.J. Brown, they'll feed him early. He'll probably get 4 in the first half, and we'll get 2 swing passes out of him, maybe a deep ball there in the second half. I think he gets to 6, maybe not 8, but he'll get to 6 or 7.
I think that's the easiest prop play of the week. I feel like 100% they will be feeding him, just like you said, to shut him up. Here, take a football. Take a football in your hands and be quiet. All right.
I agree.
Let us win games.
Unless Jalen Hurts throws a bunch of fastballs that on purpose, he drops them and say, "Catch the ball, dude. Catch the ball."
Yeah, exactly. Afterwards, I can see them, arm in arm. Oh, we're friends again. Blah blah blah. All that fun stuff. Let's head on over.
It's gonna happen. It'll
happen. It'll happen. Let's head on over to fantasy. Because it is week 1, fantasy playoffs. Everyone's scared. We're here to help. It is a scary, scary time. Every single time I get into the playoffs, it takes 11 weeks, 12 weeks to get there. And then you could be one and done. So we're here to help with your stardom sit-em. I'm going to head on over to Khalil Shakir as a stardom. Big fantasy implications. Like I said, man. Shakir will be a solid wide receiver, borderline wide receiver 2 for you this week in a potential shootout. I think you've been hearing us talk about why it's good to take the over in that game, why it's good to take the Lions because they're going to put up a lot of points. Well, Shakir is going to be one that benefits from that shootout. You saw what he could do last week against the Rams. He posted 21 points. It was his second double-digit output in 3 weeks. Like I said, from a pure volume play, this is a great start, man. Shakir's seen 8 targets, 7, 12, 9, 7, and 10 over his last 6 weeks. So the volume is there. The targets are there. Plug him in your lineup if you haven't already. He's your guy to get you into the semis. I love that Shakir start for wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2 for you. Alpha, your start of the week, brother.
Tony Pollard is back in the starting lineup. I think he's going to have a big performance this week. It'll make a lot more sense when I go over my sit, who's another running back. I spoke about it earlier, so you probably know who I'm going to go with. But I do think you do have to plug in Tony Pollard if you have him on your bench. He's coming in off a big performance last week. He had a 16-point fantasy game where he did it all. He had receptions, 2 catches for 22 yards, and he had 21 carries for 102 yards. I think we see a healthy dose of Tony Pollard this week, and in a minute, you'll understand who I'm benching for him.
Matt, start of the week.
I'm actually going to go. This very well could be the teammate of Alpha's sit of the week, or either that or he's got my same sit. One of the two is my guess, but I'm actually going to go with Patrick Taylor Jr. If you're in need of a running back, for the exact same reason we talked about at the top of the show, the 49ers, they're dirty with their injury stuff. They don't tell you this. I don't think Werner's playing. I mean, I think it's the same situation.
I don't either.
Week one with McCaffrey, and this kid Taylor, he's got some talent. He doesn't have the numbers because we're down to their third string running back. But that's the other thing though. It doesn't matter who the running back is for the Niners. They put up yards and they score touchdowns. It doesn't matter. I mean, I think it's something like 9 undrafted running backs have put up 100-yard games under Kyle Shanahan with the Niners. It's crazy. So, it's not a guy I would put in my RB1 slot. I really wouldn't put him in your RB2 unless you've got a guy's injured, you've got no shot. Or sometimes some leagues, if I recall correctly, they shut off waivers. You can't pick a guy up. So if he happens to be on your roster and you need him, I think he's decent. And the Rams rush defense the last four games, 103 yards and 3 touchdowns all by Josh Allen last week, 143 yards against New Orleans, 314 yards and 3 touchdowns against Philly, and 125 yards even the Patriots gained on the Rams' rush defense. So this rush defense can be had for Los Angeles.
So you're putting on your tinfoil hat. You're saying they're not even going to play Guerrero.
I don't think so.
No, I mean, the 49ers, they've known to be doing this. They've done this before already just this season. So who knows? Tinfoil hats are on. Get Patrick Taylor. All right, Alpha. Actually, no, you did your start. I am going to my sit of the week, and it shouldn't be any surprise. And if you're looking at him on your team and you are wondering if you should start or sit him because he's a scary sit as well as he is a scary start, I'm going to tell you to staple him to your bench. That's CJ Stroud, man. The sophomore slump continues for that man. The sophomore slump continues. His average finish over the last 9 games is the QB 21. So yes, he's been one of the worst QBs in football from a fantasy standpoint recently, and he's failed to produce even against the Colts, the Cowboys, the Jags, which are all favorable fantasy matchups. For me, he's way too risky for the playoffs. For me to start CJ Stroud in the playoffs, I'm not starting him. I'd rather start guys like Goff, Stafford, maybe even Geno Smith. I'm telling you, from a fantasy standpoint, he'll give you a little bit more than what CJ Stroud has been giving you. So take CJ Stroud, put him on your bench, and start one of those guys that I said instead, because you don't want Stroud to lose your week 1 fantasy. You don't want to lose the quarterfinals because of CJ Stroud. So take a seat. CJ, I'm sorry. I'll look at you next week. Alpha, who's your sit of the week, brother?
Dude, you picked the guy going up against the Dolphins?
Yeah, yep.
Of course you did, bro. There was always an underlying.
He's been bad. I don't care who.
Hey, how did Garrett Wilson do last week, by the way? I forgot to ask you this.
Who?
Was it Garrett Wilson? Wasn't he your sit of the week last week?
Oh, yeah. How did he do?
He did pretty
good.
Yeah, I know he did pretty good. Hey, guys, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Last week.
That's right.
You ain't lying. You ain't lying. And guys, my sit of the week comes to no surprise. It's 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐜. I know that there's a big report. It said he's going to have a full workload. That came out this morning. We've heard a lot about this 49ers team saying they're going to be giving guys full workloads and they're healthy, and they haven't been. I don't believe it. I believe the sports books. The odds are telling you everything you need to know about who's going to play tonight. I agree 1,000% with Matt. I do think Taylor is the option. He was the guy I would go with. But in your fantasy leagues, sit 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐧𝐽𝐼. I'm putting Tony Pollard in for him in my league, and I think that's the best move you can make. And we said it earlier, it's very nerve-wracking because it's a Thursday. You don't know. Maybe you have a couple other question marks on your bench of guys that are running backs that you don't know if they're going to go either. Guerrero would be my absolute last choice. If I had 7 running backs on my team, he would be the 7th guy I'd be willing to put in this week.
Yeah, there's just too many scary options, man, out there, and we're just trying to help you navigate this scary quarterfinals. Matt, your sit of the week, brother.
Yeah, well, based on breaking news, Alpha Schefter over here, this guy may get sit anyway by his coach, and that's and that's DeAndre Swift. I guess he's not practicing this week, but even if he plays, I'm using the same logic that didn't work last week with Bijan Robinson. He's going up against the Vikings rush defense, which is still stellar. First time he faced Minnesota, he had 13 carries for 30 yards. Since then, 11 carries for 39 yards against Detroit, 14 for 38 against San Francisco. From September 29th to October 27th, DeAndre Swift had 386 rushing yards, including 3 games with 90-plus yards and 4 touchdowns. He had 1 in every game. Since then, he has a total of 178 yards and 1 touchdown. he's just not startable right now, especially with this matchup. And then you throw the injury issues on top of it. Again, this man may be taken out of your hands anyway. But DeAndre Swift was my play.
I like that.
Hey, let's have a good fantasy week, man. I hope everybody wins their quarterfinal matchups that's listening to this, although that's probably not going to be the case. I'm hoping I'm sitting in this seat next week. Alpha sitting in that seat next week, knowing that we're in the semifinals. But that just about does it for week 15, man. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Talk with us. As always, we'll be back for week 16, same time, same place. If you tail us or fade us, just remember we always love you, man. Getting close to Christmas here too, fellas. The Christmas season, the holiday season, we wish you the best. Remember to sign up for the NFL Capper contest over at Oddspedia for free and have your chance to win some money. For more info, head on over to Oddspedia US Twitter account. It's in our pinned tweet. Let's have a damn day. See you next week, and go Fins.
Let's go. Let's go, Ravens. Don't you